Hello everyone. So apart from writing code, there are a couple of things engineers do to come up with a more productive and a more stable product at the end to deliver a very stable product. And today we'll be looking at one of them, which is effective collaboration in code review. Yeah, code review is very key in building a very strong relationship between the team and bonding the team basically. So today we'll not be looking at code, but we'll be looking at code review, how you review your team members' code and how contributors and reviewers can actually come together and review code without having a lot of chaos at the end of the day. Yeah. So this is actually a very important topic in any engineering team that should be looked at very well. Yeah. So we'll not waste much time. Let's quickly jump in. So basically, if you're looking at the introduction, you can pause to read. But code review is a very powerful means of improving code quality. As you can see, what I'm saying here. What it does is that it encourages the best practice for you, and it allows other people to also learn from others while they're looking at their code. And what this means is that when they are not there, the other members can easily jump on their code, and at the end of the day, they will understand it and they'll move forward when people on leave or people are no longer with the company. So code review is actually very key. Someone should there should be a second eye to your code before it get made basically. Yeah, excuse me. So establishing a positive code review culture. For you to have a positive code review culture, first is encouraging open communication and constructive feedback. What this means is that, excuse me, if you have an engineering lead, or you have a team lead or engineering manager, it's important that they encourage feedback and open communication where a junior can easily talk to a senior, and a senior can also talk to a junior respectfully when they are looking at the code and what they have written so far. And another thing you need to consider is creating a supportive and a respectful environment for reviewers and contributors. That is just what it's more like more of what the first point is saying. You need to make sure a junior can review a senior code and can also leave comment on it and can call his attention, like, I don't understand what is here, what does this mean, and all of those things. So you need to also set clear expectation for the code review process. There should be a guidance. Each engineering team basically is supposed to have a guide on how they write their code depending on the stack you're using. For backend as well, there should be a guide, and for front end, for full stack, for mobile. And if you're using for backend, if you're using Node or PHP, there should be a guide, basically something that people can fall back to, something that people can look at the end of the day. So it's actually very key. Those are the things that can help build a positive code review culture. So the roles and responsibilities of reviewers. We'll first look at the reviewers. Reviewers, these are people that you have written your code and they are coming to take a second eye, and if there are logic that are not well clear, or the certain things that are not clear, they will look at it and help you figure it out, or at the end of the day have a more quality code. So their responsibility is conducting a thorough and an objective code inspection. You need to come in and actually look at the code thoroughly. Once again, after the person have written the code, someone have written the code, you need to come and look at it thoroughly, and they need to do this objectively. You don't need to be looking at it. This guy is my friend, so you ignore some of the errors so that his work will quickly get passed. No, the aim at the end of the day is to have a code quality, a code that is actually stable, that can actually scale at the end of the day. Yeah. So you also need to your one of your responsibility is to provide an actionable feedback and suggestion for improvement. If there's something you don't understand, you please state it, and then you give your suggestion that in this case, I think this should have been better. Instead of this, I think this should have been better. Something like that. So you need to give your action suggestion and your feedback. If the code is okay, you can also praise and all of that. So another thing is that you have to adhere to code standard. You people need to be following the best practice and the project guideline. The project have a guideline, and you people have an engineering guideline and the best practice, those are the things that should be followed. And when you're looking at the code, you make sure that this person is adhering to those all of those things. And the fourth thing here is mentoring and guiding contributors to adhere to their coding skills. Yeah, you need to guide them, if especially if you're a senior. Or a new member just coming to your team, you need to be able to guide them to write code better, to enhance their coding skills at the end of the day. And then the last thing we have here is balancing the need for feedback with time constraint and project requirement. Your project have requirement, you have a time constraint to it, and then at the end of the day, you want to make sure everything is within. So the response must be as fast as possible. When someone drop your code and you review it, and then when you left comment, they should attend to it, and then everything should be done simultaneously. Yeah, so let's look at the responsibility of the contributors. These are the people that are actually writing the code, raising the PR. Yeah, the first thing is that when you're preparing for code review, first self review. After you have contributed to the code, you have written the code. It's very key that you as well review the code after you have raised the PR before you let other members come and review the code. You understand? It's very key. At this point, you may see some things. You may even have an unnecessary comment. You may dump something somewhere that's not necessary. And then it's very key that you do a self review before you let other people review your code. That is more like you taking a second eye by yourself. Now, responding to feedback. You must be responding to feedback. If they left a comment or a question on your review, you have to jump on it as soon as possible. Yeah, so that it will encourage the person reviewing your code so that they will continue to review your code. And then seek clarification when needed and discussion alternative approach. If there's a question or there's a comment you did not understand, you seek clarification. You can even take the conversation outside the, maybe GitLab or GitHub or Bitbucket or whatsoever you're using. You can take it to your, maybe you people have a Slack or you have a Telegram channel. You can take it to there if you guys are not really coping up. This is an alternative approach, yeah, to continue your discussion so that you both can both understand yourself, because you are working on the project as a team, and if one fail, then the whole team is failing. So another thing, you must demonstrate a willingness to learn and improve based on feedback. If there's an issue, if your code is not written properly and people are contributing and are saying this should not be like that, you should not just come and start arguing. You should also look at what they're saying, and if there's need, you should change your code, and if there's no need, you give them a very, very constructive feedback. It's actually very key. So another thing is the last thing we have here is collaborating with reviewers to understand the rationale behind the suggestion. You ask them why it should be like this, and at the end of the day, it helps you learn on the job. Actually, it actually helps you learn, and you learn from each other, and you get to know the best practices, because this is IT, right? You cannot know everything. There are always best way to do things, so you should be able to listen with a clear mind, with an open mind. Yeah. So let's look at effective communication in code review. For you to have an effective communication in code review, the first thing we have here is you must be using a respectful and professional tone in comment and discussion. Whatever you are doing, you have to be very professional, so that when someone look at your comment, when someone look at your suggestion, they are not actually they don't have a bad deal from your comment and all of that. So you must clearly explain the reason behind your suggestion or request changes. When you request a change or when you have a suggestion, you must be detailed, so that when someone will not have to come and ask you a question again, they will just be able to see you and understand what you're saying. So you must also prioritize clarity. Yeah, everything must be clear, and your code must have to be well explained and well documented, so that there won't be a lot of questions. And at the end of the day, you must remember to praise where necessary. I also emphasize on this: praise where necessary. If someone write a good code and you're coming to review and you did not actually see anything that is wrong with the code, you praise. And if you see something wrong, you can also praise the good part before you go on with your comment. It gives them make them understand that yes, they are making an effort. So let's look at some of the examples in having an effective code review. Yeah. So first thing we have here is that your comments have to be focused on the code and not the author. You are not your code, and the person writing the code is not his code. He can improve always. So the code is requesting the service multiple times, which is inefficient. This is you talking about the code. But if you look, let's look at the wrong comment here. You are requesting this same service multiple times, which is inefficient. Look at this is directing to the person writing the code, but the person is not his code. So your comment should be directing to the code. Just like you say, this code is requesting, not you are requesting as if it's the person that is performing the act. This is his code, and he's not his code, and he can improve and he can get better and all of that. So you should be more focused on the code and not him. And then the second thing we have here is you should be willing to accept different solution. For example, for the fact that you are more familiar with a particular solution and it always gives you a better result doesn't mean someone cannot come up with a better solution. So if someone come up with a better solution, it's fine. You should be willing to accept it, even as much as it's not your solution. Yeah, so that is actually very key. If you look at here, I always use fixed timestamp in test, and you should do so too. No, if he's what he did is okay and is working fine, there's no need that he must change to your favorite pattern of writing code. Yeah, and this is one thing that senior engineers have to also take note of when they are reviewing junior code. Not that they must write the code the way they write, right? Yeah. So on the second example here, what we have here is your behavior. We have the reviewer, the behavior, and then the attribute. So more like you should be focused more on the behavior and not the attribute. Let's look at what we have here. I believe that your code should pay more attention to writing tests. Look at what we have here. You are sloppy when it comes to writing tests. The sloppy is talking about is the attribute, and this is the attribute referring to the person. I believe that you should pay more attention. I believe you should pay more attention to writing tests. Pay more attention. Here we're talking about you paying more attention. You are doing it, but you should do more. And then when they say you are sloppy, it's more like you're not actually doing enough. So you have to be very, very constructive in when you leave your comment. And then the next thing we have here is a praise. You should be willing to praise before any other before you even say the bad part. Most of your code looks good, but the method is too long. I really like, you look at what we have here, I really like the class product controller. He's praising that part of the code before he's going to go ahead and complain about the method that actually is not is too big, which is what we refer to in code as code smell, when your method is too big. So it's actually very important that you praise where necessary. So there are more examples. There could be more examples like this, and I'm sure I will share some resources. So if you like what we are doing here, please subscribe. And if you have any question, please leave a comment. I will be looking at those comments and I'll attend to them. Thank you. So how to build a strong relationship between code reviewers and code contributors. Now, for you to be able to build a strong relationship, you must be very respectful, and when you're giving your feedback, you focus on the code and not the person. Be open to feedback yourself, and be willing to learn from each other. It's very important. Code review actually is an avenue to learn from each other. So that you can get to learn very quick. So these are the benefits of building a strong relationship. We have a more productive code reviews. We improve code quality, increase team collaboration, and reduce stress and frustration. So those are the benefit when you are having an awesome code review. So building trust and collaboration. So for you to build trust and collaboration, you must recognize and appreciate the value of each team member expertise. Well, these are the things you must always appreciate. Each team members where necessary, and you must also be willing to balance critique with positive enforcement. You must acknowledge good work. You must encourage knowledge sharing and opportunities during code review. And knowledge sharing is actually very important. When you look at someone code, and sometimes you can refer them to a resource they can take a look at, and all those things continue to building a very strong team. And then you must actually building a culture of continuous improvement through iterative feedback loops. Continuous improvement, as they say, kaizen, is actually very important. The thing can never be good enough. In as much as they are good, they can actually continue to improve and get to do better. So, addressing challenges and conflict resolution, the how you can address some of those challenges, handling disagreement or different opinion professionally and constructively. When there are challenges, when there are disagreement, you must actually be very professional in dealing with them and not take things personal. This is work, and you must not be referring to the person personally. People have different opinion, and most of them they should be respected. And people have to find a common ground, which is going with best practice and the project guideline, and at the end of the day, be able to resolve your conflict. Must encourage open communication and seek common ground. You must seek common ground, just like I explained. A project have guidelines and there are best practices, and when there is a disagreement, those are the things that should be coming up as good point. Yeah. So you can also escalate unresolved issues to project lead or management when necessary. Yeah, if you are finding difficult to resolve a particular issue, you can actually involve a manager. But those things should be done respectfully and professionally, and this should be only where it's necessary. So learning from conflict to improve code review process and team dynamics. So you must learn from conflict. Conflict is not actually bad. It's actually an avenue to also learn and be able to see how you can be able to manage conflict. You should be able to manage conflict because those things are inevitable. They are always there. So when they come, you have to be able to handle them professionally as well. Yeah. So in the whole of this, the summary. This is the summary. What we have here. Those are the things you should consider while you are looking at somebody's code. The code is well designed. Be your first review. The functionality is good for users of the code. Any UI changes are sensible and look good. Any para programming is done safely, and the code isn't more complex than it needs to be. Those are the things you need to be looking at, and they are very key. Yeah, you can pause to read, but those are the major things you should be looking at. And then at the end of the day, you must have a well documented code, and you must make sure that the code conform to the guardian style, the best um, the best style that it should be. So in conclusion, code review is actually an important part of software development, and it helps build a very strong relationship between the team, and it helps them collaborate and learn from each other. So you must take code review very seriously in your team, and those are some of the things that can actually help you have a very productive work at the end of the day. So that is it for this episode, guys. I just say let me point out about code review so that as we continue to write our code and we continue to look at other people's code and review them, when you are talking to your teammate and reviewing their code, you'll be able to actually come with a very constructive comment, and your suggestion will be professional in a way that when they look at them, it will not spoil their day at all. So that's this for this episode, guys. So next we'll continue going into other topic, as I earlier said. Please stay subscribed. This is Clean Code with Fabian. What we do here basically is making sure at the end of the day we're writing we're crafting a clean code that is actually up to the standard of the modern programming. Yeah. So please stay subscribed, as I said earlier, and I will see you in the next episode.